Hello there, emerging mothers. I hope you all are well. Listen, we're just going to wait a few more minutes for people to hop on, and so then we'll go ahead and get started on today. I am so excited that you all are here today. As you all will notice, I have a background behind me. Of course, I am at a local coffee shop, and one of my favorite places to come for, of course, either hot chocolate or tea, although I do not necessarily do, I don't do, of course, if you will, coffee or anything along those lines. I do tea, and then I also do hot chocolate as well. So I'm just so excited that you all have joined me on today. We'll wait just a couple of more seconds, and then we'll jump in and get started. It's so good to see you all. Hello there. It's so good to see you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Awesome. But you know what? I'm going to go ahead and jump in and get started. I do appreciate all of you being here on today. What I want to do is I want to chat today about just where many mothers are right now. As far as our teens are concerned, of course, many teens have graduated from high school. And so now the next stage is for them to transition onto the college campus. And there are a number of things that go on within a mother during this time, especially those mothers who have jumped in for the last 16, 17, or 18 years with both feet and have poured into our children. It's almost like our hubbies or our friends who are men who have poured into their professions for many years, and then when it seems as though there's a strain between them and their profession, then it's a loss, and it can even be considered a grief. And so what I'd like to do is talk about on today just this stretching that will take place for those mothers. Some of them whose teens are transitioning out. And so what I'd like to do is first of all, I'd like to give 3 points. The first one, and what I learned and what I did not do instantly, but learned over the years. So when my second daughter went off to college, of course, I had already learned to put some strategies into place. Okay, so first and foremost, I had to learn how to release with respect. That's critically important. Releasing with respect. This is one of the actions that I overlooked taking, and putting into place those things that would help me to do that. When I say release with respect, I have to admit that that's one of the toughest actions that I had to experience. When I'm releasing with respect, there's a pulling, if you will. And many of you know that my oldest daughter went off to school in a totally different state on the other side of these United States. And so what I had to do is, after, of course, I picked myself up off of my prayer closet floor, after I did that, then I realized that I needed to possibly join some groups, whether it was a social media group that was uplifting and inspiring and motivational and encouraging. I needed to do that so I can be around other like-minded mothers who were at a point in their lives whereas they needed a mindset shift. And so that's what helped me with my mindset shift, is first and foremost being in the company of others, of course, who were in the same position as myself. If not the same, then similar. Also, what I needed to do is I needed to strengthen, in addition to, of course, joining, whether it's, again, a social media group or an association or some type of community. After doing that, then I realized that I really, really, really needed to strengthen my spiritual walk. That was critically important. I needed to make sure that I spent more time with Christ. I needed to make sure that I was in prayer. I needed to make sure that I was meditating because I needed to make sure that I was strengthened from the inside out. After all of those years of course, interacting with counselors and completing applications and doing all of those things that my teens required prior to their transition off, I needed to begin to redirect my focus on myself to make sure that I was going to move forward in the healthiest way possible. So under the umbrella, again, of releasing with respect, I needed to just, number one, make sure that I joined some positive groups. Number two, I needed to make sure that I strengthened my spiritual walk. And then next, I definitely need to make sure that I elevated the condition of my brain and my body. And when I say elevate the condition of my brain and my body, I needed to start getting up early in the morning, and I needed to get my workout in. Towards around the time that my daughter was in the process, she just graduated from high school. Because I was so busy, that's an area that slacked, and so I needed to make sure that I went back to those ways of moving my body. So up 5 a.m. in the morning, 4:30, wake up at 4:30, 5:15, I'm at the gym. I needed to make sure that movement was taking place in order for me to be healthy. Whether it was running on the treadmill, on the elliptical, whether it was me doing weights, whatever it was, I needed to make sure that I got back into tip-top shape so that I can move forward again and being able to operate with the spirit of excellence. And then, because you know what, and at the time I was, in the heavily, participating in activities at the church. At the time, I was a deaconess at the church. I was going to the hospitals and praying with individuals who were ill. Also, I was, of course, attending my husband's adult Bible fellowship class. But then what I needed to start doing is I needed to start helping him teach. And so whenever he asked me from a certain point on, I made sure that my schedule was clear and I was available to teach. And these are 12 to 15 adult couples with young children. I needed to jump in with both feet with that. In order to make sure that I was deepening my relationship with Christ. And so, mothers, I'm clearly speaking of the things that I needed to do that I was doing sporadically and haphazardly while I was in the process of letting go, while I was in the process of releasing with respect as my daughter was transitioning out of the home. Again, did I do these things initially? I did not. And so these are some strategies that I had to learn to do. So I knew a couple of years after my first daughter that my second daughter was going to go off as well. So again, making sure that I was a part of a social media group or some association, some inspirational focus in reference to being around other people. Secondly, strengthening my spiritual walk, and then making sure that I was moving, escalating, elevating, enhancing my body and my brain. And when I talk about my brain, I needed to make sure that I was increasing my reading. What better way than to learn on the next level than to read about what others have done who are in a position similar to yourself. And so reading is critical. Reading is always critical. As a matter of fact, when we speak about reading, my mother taught school for 40 years, and so I always saw books around all the time, and so I totally believe and trust that reading is critical. And you know, at the time when my oldest daughter was transitioning out of the home, I have to admit that I was at the library all the time. I was in the process of wrapping up my dissertation for my doctoral studies, and so had always been accustomed to being around books, and so and it was an advantage, because while I was wrapping up my writing, then of course I had my 3 daughters with me, and then they have become accustomed to, and they have been around books all their lives. And so, you know, with them at the library with me as I was writing, prior to the publishing of my book, then my daughters, it seemed as though they were elevating academically as well, with my oldest daughter graduating within the very top percentage. I think she was number 17 in her class, 14 or 17 in her class, and graduated magna cum laude. And then my second daughter graduated magna cum laude as well. And so it was an advantage that while I was wrapping up my studies, then of course they were able to elevate and escalate in their studies as well. So again, under the umbrella of letting go and releasing with respect, then did I do it initially? The response to that, the open, honest, candor-focused response to that is no. I've learned these strategies in addition to others over the years, so that I could be prepared, of course, and so it has helped me tremendously. So that first and foremost. So if you are, mothers, going through a difficult time because you know that time is quickly approaching in reference to your teen transitioning out, begin to embrace these principles and pull these thoughts and thoughts such as these close to you, this advice, because it really took me a long way. You know, in addition to that, I have to admit this as well before I go into the next of my three tips that I'd like to leave today. I have to admit that whenever I was in the process of releasing with respect, and I sensed a void, I needed to, and see, this is just me, this may not be you, but just me, that when there's that hole of emptiness there, what I need to do is I need to reach out and I need to fill it with something. I need to fill it with something. And one of the things I was able to fill it with was my education. And so I had started off with these 3 girls and this husband, taking one class at a time in the doctoral program. And then I was able to increase that just a bit so that I can wrap up that academic journey of my life even quicker. So it may mean when your teen transitions out, or if you're moving into a stage of empty nesting, then, you know, maybe a workshop, maybe some classes, maybe another degree. You know your life better than anyone else ever will, and so you'll be able to identify what makes sense in your situation, since you're reaching this new phase and you're reaching this new stage. So if there are any thoughts or if there are any ideas that you have that you'd like to focus on, drop them in the chat just to let the rest of us know what would be most advantageous for yourself. So drop it in the chat, please. And what I'll do is I will jump on in our community and I'll respond. I'm sure you all have some excellent and great ideas, and then I'm sure that the other 90 plus mothers in our community would enjoy hearing from you as well. So that, number one. Number two, what again, did I do this immediately? Did I do this prior to my daughter transitioning? Did I do this even within the first month or first couple of weeks? The answer is no. And that is nurturing and nourishing my relationships. You know, even though, although, should I say, that transition took place, I think the first thought in my mind was, you know, just the different stages of grieving. and this disconnect that was occurring. Did I, have other mothers that I connected with at the church, via the phone or texting? It's absolutely, I certainly did. However, for me, what I needed is a deeper nurturing, deeper nourishing. And so I did that. I began to, of course, reach out to, of course, some girlfriends, and to schedule lunch or dinner or breakfast and those types of things, and just reconnect. And mainly, they were mothers who had already gone through this transition of their children. And when I tell you that they were able to impart, they were able to articulate, they were able to convey some of their deepest pieces of wisdom, that is definitely the case, and that's what happened. And I needed that at the time. It was critical, because for me, talking is therapeutic. It helps me to get past, get over, get through issues or situations in life that are a challenge. And this was definitely one of them. So I did reach out, and I spent time reconnecting, on a different level, because when I think about it, all of those years were spent from my daughters being born all the way until my oldest daughter leaving. They had been spent with, parent-teacher conferences, and they were, the focus was, especially before she left, was interacting with counselors. It was completing applications. It had to do with visiting colleges. It was focused on volunteering at the school. Also, when my daughters were very young, of course, I was in corporate America at the time, and was the compliance officer at an investment company. Whereas, I oversaw the compliance-related responsibilities of about 53 investment professionals, some financial planners, financial reps. And, those things were my focus. Was it taking care of myself, and was it pouring in as much as I absolutely could into friendships and relationships? It was a little lower than at the top of my totem pole, but this has given me the opportunity to do that. So I encourage you to do that, to nourish those relationships, and then even feel free to form new relationships. Now that I have 2 daughters out of the home, then it has given me an opportunity, and it has opened up my schedule, of course, to form new relationships. And I have to also admit this to you. I am forming these even new relationships with my young adult daughters. Okay, so my oldest one, she graduated in May. Many of you already know that because you've seen the pictures in our Facebook community. And I'm still encouraging you, if your sons or daughters have graduated, please feel free to post those pictures. I look forward to seeing them so I can respond. My oldest daughter graduated. She's at the house now. She'll be leaving in about 6 months. My second daughter will be graduating in December. She will be at the house, which she is right now, all summer long before she goes back for her final semester. These are new people. These are new people. When I tell you I am enjoying myself and this new relationship that I have with these daughters of mine, now that I have released, we have totally different interactions. We have totally different conversations. It's on a different level. There's no need to control. There's no need to try to make everyone happy. There's no need to enable. And I will tell you this, mothers. You know what? I love y'all, first and foremost. I can just pour out. I told y'all, for me, talking is therapeutic. When I tell you that as a mother, and I'm only speaking for me, I may be the only one in this category, and if that's the case, I receive it, I've changed it, and I'm able to move on. But for me, raising my daughters, a lot of times I didn't know what I didn't know. And sometimes as mothers, we don't know what we don't know. And so if there's some type of enabling here and there, a lot of times it's not as though it was intentional. As mothers, we just simply believe that we're supporting and we're helping out and we're assisting and we're there for our children. When we release with respect and allow them to go off onto the college campus or the military base and or residential independence, and they come back, you will begin to see, I was able to see those things that they could have actually done on their own. Now, of course, a lot of it, they learned it while they were away, but guess what? They had to, because I wasn't there. So sometimes when they're in our homes, and I see that I've done this with my youngest daughter, who's 13, is I have taken a couple of steps back and taken 3 seats. Because if we're really analyzing and studying our sons and our daughters, they really can do it. They really can do it. They really do not need our help on a lot of different things. And so I would encourage you to just study them, analyze behavior, and then allow them to do a number of things that they really can actually do. So that's a long a lecture, if you will, and not really even a lecture, but a long words of wisdom, a lengthy thought, just to encourage you, to inspire you, since I've been there, to allow them to do more, so that when they're on the college campus or military base or living alone, guess what? They already know how to do it. And I'll tell you this, we have an upcoming master class. And I will be sending a note in the chat, because we may kick it off on Monday, or we may push it back just a little bit, because I noticed that we have some additional mothers coming in, and we will have more, so I may even delay it just a bit. But we will definitely be talking about these different strategies and these different ways where our teens can begin to do things on their own, and I will teach you what those things are. There are a number of things that you can begin allowing them to do at the house, so that when they're away, guess what? They already know how to do it. And it will not be a surprise to you when they return back home for the holiday or for the weekend or for, just a simple vacation. It will not surprise you that, oh my goodness, they know how to do that. Because guess what? You've allowed them to do it. And you've encouraged them to do it before they left the house. So just wanted to share that and encourage you to, number 1, release with respect, and number 2, nourish and embrace those friendships, reconnect, etc. And then guess what? Last but certainly not least, I must encourage you to give yourself grace. Give yourself grace. Give yourself grace from loneliness. Give yourself grace from any regret. Give yourself grace from maybe it's relationships. Give yourself grace from any mistakes you may have made. When I just a moment ago mentioned relationships, pouring into, of course, your teens before they leave the home, making sure that, you're able to maintain, the other relationships, etc. That can be a challenge. And so what do you choose? You choose the pouring into of your children, because they'll be gone soon. I've released myself from any issues regarding any relationships, etc. You know, do we make mistakes as mothers? We do. Please give yourself grace for that. You know, God will block out of their memory those things that He wants blocked out. Those things that maybe mothers may hold on to. It's all good. They'll forgive you. Give yourself grace. It's A-okay. And then, in addition to giving yourself grace, make sure that we're speaking to ourselves kindly. Make sure that we're even encouraging ourselves, motivating ourselves, inspiring ourselves. Let's make sure that we're doing that, because that's critically important. When we tell words of affirmation to ourselves and it hits our consciousness, then guess what? It dwindles down into our subconscious. And those things that dwindle down into our subconscious, those are the things we believe. We believe them. So say kind things to yourself. Encourage yourself. You know, in the Bible, it talks about when King David, he was down on himself because there was a decision that he made, whereas an army had come in and they had totally ravaged a village that he was overseeing, and he was down. He was down. People were killed. They were overtaken. And guess what? Scripture said he encouraged himself. And just like he encouraged himself, I know that we can encourage ourselves as well. So please, mothers, encourage yourself. Believe that your teen will be okay. I have a newfound just respect for just you know, the whole process that's in place when our sons and daughters go off. They're going off to other adults who are in place on a professional level to care for them. Do we have our cell phones? Yes. We can call. We can remain prayerful. I love how the Apostle Paul wrote a letter to the church in Colossus in the 3rd chapter, 2nd verse, where he says to set your affections on the things up above and not on the things on this earth. So it took like an insurmountable level of prayer after my daughter went off. So just trust, believe, release with respect. Then let's also make sure that we're nourishing those relationships. And also, last but certainly not least, let's give ourselves grace. Listen, I appreciate you mothers, love you tons. For those of you who have teens going off, who just graduated, I'm here for you. Many of you have been DMing me, and so I've been responding. If it's something that you feel uncomfortable talking about in the community, if that's not the case, listen, we'd love to hear from you in the community. Know that I will be here 2 p.m. Central Standard Time every Thursday to drop some tips, to share words of wisdom, to toss out some gems, just so that I'm helping you along the way. And see, look, this is how I have filled that empty spot within myself, is to just reach back out and to share with mothers who have yet to have a teen go off to college, and let them know that, you know, oh my goodness, you know, there are strategies that can be put in place so that you're more prepared for when that time comes. So listen, if you have any friends, any aunts or nieces, or any cousins, female cousins, then yeah, tell them about the group, and they can come in and look around, and of course listen to some videos and grab some gems themselves. We will have a masterclass coming up, although it's scheduled for Monday. There are more mothers coming in, and so it's like towards the middle of next week, and so we may jump on 6 p.m. on Monday, or I may jump back on here to say, okay, we're going to delay it, you know, maybe another week or another 2 weeks to make sure that we have everyone who's able to start on day one. So, but please look forward to hearing from me. I appreciate you all, and I'll see you next Thursday. Take care. Bye.